This is P&J Podcast, Episode 1. I am Jordan Campbell, and this is Phillip Grant, and we are bringing to you basketball knowledge. All
What's
right,
up?
we're gonna start off with the first round, and we definitely want to explain how our opinion is on the outcome of the Spurs and the Memphis game, as well as the Rockets and the Thunder. But first, we're gonna talk about Bucks and Toronto. Philip, I'll let you kind of give your thoughts.
Okay, so we got the Bucks in Toronto. Obviously, Toronto won 4-2. I think throughout, they were in the first maybe four games. It looked like that the Bucks, had Toronto. They had their number. Shoot, they had. I think in game, what was it, game three, they had held DeMar DeRozan to about 8 points. So, it seemed like that
Yes,
they
sir.
had all the momentum, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So I think the one thing that kind of stopped the momentum of the Milwaukee Bucks in the series was the fact that they're so inexperienced, you know what I'm saying? Like have the
Yeah.
pieces.
Hmm.
Obviously, they were without Jabari Parker, who was a big deal to, their system and how they run things. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
they're obviously we all know they're young, they're gonna be something that's gonna, take off in years to come, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah.
for
You know,
sure.
and something else to note is their oldest player on the team is Jason Terry. He's coming off the bench. So
Who also is a vet, you know what I'm saying, that's
also
been
is a vet.
to
Yeah.
the finals, you know what I'm saying? They obviously they
And
beat the Heat in 2011.
yeah, and you can't take away the fact that Jason Kidd was the coach. You know, is the coach of this team,
Exactly.
and he played with Jason Terry on that Mavs team that beat the Heat. So that's
Oh wow,
something
yeah,
to really think about, and the fact that he is he's just a great influence on those young guys because there's no way that Giannis and Thon Maker, Tony Snell,
right.
like Tony Snell has been in the league for 3 years now. I wouldn't say he's really that young of a guy, but at the same time, he's still got a lot of developing to grow.
Exactly,
He's got a
exactly.
lot of his ceiling isn't he hasn't really reached it yet, and I
For
think
sure.
that really shows on this Bucks team. A lot of the defense that he played against DeMar DeRozan in Game 3 was just outstanding. I mean, he held the guy to 8 points, and
And you,
you can't really overlook something like that.
exactly. And just to add that, like I saw it in like the first couple of games, the presence inside, like we are like I was talking about this to you last night. The Milwaukee Bucks, their average their average height on the team is about 6'8", and so their interior presence is something crazy.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
they were killing
I
Toronto on the
mean,
boards.
I mean,
Um,
if we're gonna go there, talking about that average height, Tony Snell is 6'7", John Henson is 6'11", Giannis is 6'11", Spencer Hawes is 7'1", Jabari 6'8", Rashad Vaughn is 6'6", Chris Middleton is 6'8", Greg Monroe 6'11", Mike Beasley 6'9", Matthew Dellavedova and Jason Terry, as long as Gary Payton II, are the smallest guys on the team. And I mean, Malcolm Brogdon's 6'5". I mean, it's not like he's
yeah,
he's definitely short among a crowd, but at the end of the day, if you look at him, he plays pretty big. He's a long guy, very long.
exactly. So you got a lot of guys that can do multiple things on the floor too. So I mean that in itself is crazy. But going with on to Toronto, they found a way. Obviously DeMar DeRozan put the team on his back.
Yeah, I
Kyle
mean,
Lowry definitely hit that clutch basket in game two that put that tied. I think it tied
yeah,
the series.
yeah, and
So
and
yeah,
to add on to that, I mean, DeRozan, man, you could tell he was hungry. He definitely
exactly,
did not want to go home this round. I mean, he couldn't go home in the first round. There's no way,
exactly,
especially to a Bucks team that is very, very young. And last year they fell short of their goal in 6 games to the Cavs, and obviously they're trying to they got that chip. They want to be back there. They were babies last year. They weren't ready for that. But
So yeah, let's talk about that though.
yeah,
Let's
okay.
talk about the Toronto and Cleveland. So you said that they're gonna fall. You said they fell in 6 games last season. I believe that they're probably gonna fall in 6 games as well. There's a possibility that the series could go to 7, but I'm thinking that with things how things go, I think they'll be pretty even in the beginning, but I feel like the Cavs are gonna eventually figure out what Toronto likes to do, and they'll try to stop that. And then obviously they're better, they're a more offensively firepower team than Toronto is.
Yeah.
So I think that that's gonna be like like that's gonna be the settlement. Like between those two teams, Cleveland's just too good offensively. That's for sure.
Right. And Valanciunas, man, I just believe that he is going to be an X factor for that team. Just because his size, his ability to shoot the ball mid
Mm,
range, and he's just got a lot of ability that Tristan Thompson doesn't have.
right, right.
And
Including
so,
that size,
yeah,
the strength.
including that size. And so when I think about the fact that he didn't play most of that series,
Mm,
and the man can really light up a scoreboard if need be. Not saying that he's a guy that's going to give you.
right.
He only averages 12 points a game, but he averages 12 and 8. Same with
Oh yeah, for his
Tristan.
role, that's
You
enough.
know,
That's well.
oh yeah, for his role, but you can't. He spaces the floor. He's a shooter. He's a
Exactly.
7 foot shooter. So you can't leave him wide open to make
Right,
open
from mid range,
threes.
15
Yeah.
feet out.
Hmm.
And I mean that very well can be true, knowing the fact that the Cleveland is not that big of a team. Obviously, they utilize a small ball just like the Warriors do. So, I mean, that very well can be their Achilles heel, could be Valanciunas. But I want to talk about another X factor is Norman Powell. Norman Powell he might be able to do some damage. In that last Milwaukee series, he averaged about 13 points a game. He hit clutch baskets in towards the end during the series that helped lead them to that 4-2 win over Milwaukee. He can hit that. He can hit that outside shot, and he's athletic.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's very
He,
athletic.
he's
So
he's
he'll
only
give you that dunk that could give you momentum that you need.
he's only 23.
He's only 23. He's a 4-year guy at UCLA, so he's a mature, developed player, and
Exactly.
so shoot,
He's ready. I believe that they'll be the he was a rookie last year, so think about that.
yeah, for sure.
And he
And
played 49 games last year
mm,
compared to
that's
76 this year.
and yeah, you gotta take into effect that the man was an afterthought. Because the NBA, how the NBA works, you don't really take 4-year guys. You really don't believe in the 4-year guys. Usually, NBA teams like to take the one and dones and things like that, or the guys that play 2 years and then leave because they're more talented, obviously. But Norman Powell is an exception. This man, work.
Yeah,
He
I
works
mean
hard
he's like he's a Malcolm Brogdon,
exactly
another example of a 4 year guy, and C.J. McCollum,
hmm
Damian Lillard, Isaiah Thomas. Thomas
for
did four
sure.
years, right? Yeah, yeah. So those guys staying 4 years really help develop their game and keep them humble, because there's no way that I just don't believe that the guys that come into the league that are 19 and 20 like us can really be a factor on a team
Oh yeah,
in
that I
two
mean,
years.
I
Even in
understand.
2 years, honestly, like they might be good and they might show you some glimpses of what they can be, but a lot of these guys haven't really stood the test, of
Right.
time,
Let's just be honest. Like the
unless they're
last
big.
19-year-old to come into the NBA or that made an instant impact. Like after his first year was probably LeBron James. So
Okay, well, I would say I was gonna say Anthony Davis, but he didn't make an
yeah,
impact on
yeah,
the
yeah,
team like
yeah.
LeBron. But I'm saying he lived up to
Right.
what
The hype.
everyone saw him as. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
He lived up to his freak athleticism and just the way he plays. I mean, and his game grew. That's one
Right.
thing that a lot of
And he
people
grew.
right.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. That's absolutely right though. Wow.
For
So
sure.
if we're gonna shift directions a little bit to the Rockets.
Okay.
So if we're gonna bring up the Rockets, we can't talk or we can't not talk about the Thunder. So we'll go there and we'll see where that takes us because I know that I have some interesting things to
Go
say.
ahead. You start. You. All right. Go ahead. You
Okay,
start
okay.
off. What you think?
Well,
What you.
my first observation, which is obvious, everyone should probably think this or view this if they've seen Houston play, but there's just too many shooters on that team, man.
There is a lot of shooters. I'm telling you.
And uh,
Yeah, they led the league in 3 point. No, I think it was the Spurs that led the league in 3 point shooting, but Houston is also a very good 3 point shooting team. They're also, I think, they're right behind the Spurs.
right.
So yeah, you're definitely right.
And I mean, hey, that floor is so spread out. Every time I watch, Trevor Ariza can spray the three ball.
Hmm.
Ryan Anderson, Eric Gordon. They have a
Lou
big.
Williams,
They have yeah, oh yeah, Lou Williams. They have a big team. Even if you think about it, they have a nice sized team to go up with a lot of teams that they play.
for sure. They're gonna. I think this series is I thought that the OKC Houston series would be a little bit more competitive. I think that this matchup right here, Houston and Spurs, this is going to be a matchup for the ages because this may go to 7. This may go to 7.
Oh yeah,
I feel
I
like
mean, did you see how Memphis played them? Zach
exactly.
Randolph, Marcus Saul looking like not a. Not, he doesn't look like a shell of himself. That'd be the wrong words. I would say he looking like 4 years ago what you would expect from those three guys.
Hmm.
What you thought that they would accomplish
Right.
really was on the table. And had they not have lost game two, how they lost it,
Obviously.
we might be looking at a 7 game series right there.
It's
That's a great defensive team right there. And a lot of those guys have been on that team for a long time.
exactly. And think about this. In Memphis, their team camaraderie, you know what I'm saying? Like them just gathering together, Fizdale, in the press conferences, backing them up, saying, in game two when the Spurs had that crazy, like Kawhi had the 19 free throws or whatever,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
Spurs in general were just getting
Uh
to the free
huh.
throw line, and Memphis just wasn't getting the calls. Fizdale, you know, being like, they deserve better, things like that, pushing them, and that's how they kind of won game. What was that? Game three, and that was a
It was a
like
rally
their
call.
team, right? Their
They
rally as a
they
team,
paid his fine. Zach Randolph and Mike Conley,
right?
man. And that goes to show that the game is bigger than the game
Exactly,
because you don't go out of your way to make those comments and then you're on your own when you make those comments.
exactly,
The players know how they play. They know what they did. They know how the game was. But for
exactly.
them to go and have his back like that, that's just something that
It's amazing.
you really don't see that often with a lot of guys
And
because
even Vince Carter went out of his way. He guarded Kawhi Leonard, and also, he put as much effort on the floor as a 40. What is he like, 40 or
he's
something?
40 and check that out. Yeah, I wanted to talk about Vince Carter to stay and play the minutes that he played last night and have the role that he
Hmm.
has and still be an impact wherever he is on the court at his age, that's something that
That's something special.
cannot be overlooked. And I want to let's everybody. I don't think anybody really forgets about him, but he's an unsung hero, and sadly, Memphis has not been the team that they wanted to be the last 2 years. But
Exactly.
Tony Allen, man, this guy,
Oh man,
he's get
and
he's
him
got
being out, that would have definitely went to 7 if he was in, because you already know he would have been in Kawhi Leonard's grill like the whole game.
3.1 steals per game. Just
Mm.
throwing that out there.
3.1.
Or no, not per game. Per game. That's a percentage. That's his
Okay,
percentage. But if you look at that the man, his defense is second to none. Honestly.
exactly. They would have definitely missed him. They would have definitely missed him, man, for sure.
And he's at 30. He's at 35. You know. So hey, the man is definitely one of the guys on that team that would have put them over that hump.
For
Honestly,
sure.
the Spurs have it, but the fact of the matter is, we can't overlook this. Lamarcus Aldridge gets his points when he wants his points, and
Oh
then
yeah,
for the rest of the time that he's on the court, you kind of don't know what he's doing
true.
because there's times like his player efficiency rating is something to look at. I don't know if
Hmm.
you're really ready for the numbers I'm about to give you.
Go ahead.
He's got an 18, and that's not bad for this year. It's really not bad.
18 a
It's
game.
not terrible. Yeah. Or no,
Oh
I
no,
no,
no.
no, no. He's got 17 points a game, but his player efficiency rating's at an 18.6,
Okay, that's not
and
too bad.
that's not too bad. That's not too bad. But when you watch the games, and you watch the games that he plays, he does not look like he's very effective, as in terms of throughout the whole 4 quarters. You know,
Hmm.
he's not a guy he's not there. Plain and simple. He doesn't show up on the offensive end all game, and he doesn't show up on the defensive end all game. And
Right.
I think that's where honestly, their struggles last year in terms of them not being able to compete at certain times against the Thunder was
Yeah,
a lot to do with the fact that he wasn't really in that much shape,
that's
and
true.
and he really still kind of isn't.
I don't know. I think for this round, this upcoming round, I think it favors Marcus Aldridge
It does.
because think about it this way: like you really think that Ryan Anderson's gonna do something with Lamarcus Aldridge? You're crazy because
Oh no.
hey man, this man Lamarcus Aldridge is a post guru. I mean, this dude, has moves that that can mesmerize basically any big man that goes up against him.
Yes,
His
sir.
post fadeaway is lethal. So I mean, he obviously Ryan Anderson isn't the best. He's not on the floor for defense. You already know
Yeah.
he's there to spread the floor. So I mean, I think this might be a classic shootout. Um, I think the only way Houston is really gonna pull this series out is if James Harden, doesn't shoot the way he did against OKC.
Yep.
So we all know, obviously, he shot terrible
Hey now,
throughout the
but you
throughout
got
the
to think about it. Andre
series.
Roberson was in his jersey of that whole series.
Exactly,
Hey,
exactly.
think about who
While
else is in
also
that
shooting
series.
12% from the free throw line.
Yeah, you right. Ah, dang. That's a real stat to marvel at. 12% from the free throw line
That's crazy, isn't it?
in the NBA. But in other news, we are that's another topic for another day because we don't want to talk about Andre Roberson on this
Yeah, that was like the
podcast.
one game, dude. That I'm telling you, they would have won that game. They would have
Right.
won game four
Yep.
for sure if he didn't shoot that bad.
Mhm. Mhm. And so we'll talk about the Thunder now.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna leave Russ to the back of the conversation for this point, but I think that I'm gonna give. All right, I'm not gonna give Oladipo a pass, but I'm just gonna say that him being in his first playoff series, that being in the Western Conference against the Rockets, and you know surrounding the stakes of the season with Russell
Hmm.
Westbrook and all the other storylines that were surrounded around the team, I
Hmm.
believe that he wasn't ready, plain and
Oh
simple.
no, they all were ready, man. I'm
You
telling you.
know,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that has to do with the fact that Russ doesn't trust most of the guys, and I wouldn't say that he doesn't
Mhm.
trust them, but it's either he
No,
doesn't
you could
trust
very
them
well say that.
or he doesn't
You can make an
Yeah,
argument.
yeah, I'm gonna make that argument. I don't believe you trust him
Mm,
because, if you go a whole season getting triple doubles the way he gets triple doubles,
that's true.
and in the fourth quarter you're tired, but yet
Mm.
Russ defenders want to say he doesn't have anyone to pass to. There's
He doesn't
four
want to
other
think he
guys.
has
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
people to
There's
pass.
four other
He
guys on the
does. He
court, bro.
does.
There's four other guys on the court. When he gets double team, triple team,
Hmm.
in the first half he passes it, but when it comes to the fourth quarter, oh no, I have to take
Think
it. Like,
think about Russell Westbrook's usage rate, which is I think maybe the highest in the league. I'm not sure, um, but think of his usage rate. Think about how they conduct their offense around Russell Westbrook compared to when he's off on the court and off the court. If you think about it, their whole offense is ran through Russell Westbrook, and I'm pretty sure Russell Westbrook made that happen because we all know Russell Westbrook does what Russell Westbrook wants to do on the floor. Now, with that being said, with Russ basically being the focal point of the offense, everything running through him, how do you think that makes other players on the court feel? So they're basically just standing and watching.
the whole time,
Obviously,
yeah.
the whole
There's
time
no there's no way
when
you
Russ
can
is on
get
the
off
floor, they're
a
just
shot
watching. Exactly. So
or even find any sort of rhythm. You there's
exactly, there's no rhythm that can be established when you're just watching one player
and
run
think
pick and
about it.
roll
That's the
or in
whole
isolation, playing hero
season.
ball throughout the game.
Yeah,
And then when he
that's the whole
goes off the
season. That's
floor,
all 81 games that he played.
exactly. So when he goes off the floor and there's not Russell Westbrook on there, that what's their offense now? Like they have no
They
no
have
other
to.
motion type
It's
offense or
literally
anything.
okay. Victor Oladipo and Doug McDermott, do what you can do to get us
Mm,
points,
ah,
and
yeah,
you see they're struggling, and
exactly.
it's not because of their talent. It's the fact that they don't have any. They don't have any. What's the word for it? Continuity. They just don't have
Right.
the
Exactly.
people. They don't have the people that are have been there. That are ready to
They don't
show
have
up.
that. They don't have established roles. It's just more of all right. Russ is like, this is what I'm gonna do, and then leave it at that. And that it just doesn't
Exactly.
work that way. It doesn't work that way. Let me throw a stat at you, Jay. So game seven, Russell had 47 points on 15 to 34 shooting, right, with
Yep.
11 boards and 9 assists.
Okay.
The other four OKC starters. This is including Taj Gibson, Steven Adams, Oladipo, and Roberson. The other four starters only had 30 points, 12 of 35 shooting, 28 rebounds, and only 5 assists. I got that from Bleacher Report. So you if you just fathom those stats that I just told you,
Okay. Hold on. Hold
Russ
on.
is basically outscored. He outscored the other four OKC starters. They obviously had a little bit more. They had more rebounds. That's another story. And then he out assisted the other OKC stars. So that just proves to show that Russell Westbrook, the offense is Russell Westbrook. There is no offense without Russell Westbrook. So when he's sitting out, when he does his little, rest rotation or whatever, a little bit towards the end of the third quarter, going into a little bit of the fourth quarter, going into like 4 or 5 minutes into the fourth quarter, then he comes back in. This is how the Thunder are getting outscored by 58 points
Hey,
because
pause
there's
that.
no,
Pause that.
it's no. What's up?
Only four guys scored in double digits on that team this year.
It comes to show, man. This it's rush or bust, man. No offense, man.
Steven Adams had 11, Ennis had 14, and Victor had 15. The rest of the guys couldn't even score over 8, bro. Taj Gibson had 9. And Taj Gibson played very well for that team, but obviously not well
Right,
enough.
right. I mean, chemistry wise, I mean,
Hey,
you know what
wow.
I'm saying. And
Mm-hmm.
he make. McDermott weren't able to, you know, get themselves into the flow
Yeah.
of what the Thunder had wanted to accomplish and things like that. So, I mean,
Wow. Yeah.
obviously, you already know how that goes. But I mean, that in itself just proves that, well, I
Yeah. I
mean,
mean,
Russ is a great player. I'm
but
not.
he.
I'm not taking that away
Yeah.
from him.
Oh
We
yeah,
haven't
for sure.
seen anyone like that, and we'll go in deep into Russ, like you said. We'll leave that off. But OKC as a team, like
Yeah.
they need that. They need a Lou Williams. You know, they need somebody off the bench who can create offense.
Yeah.
You know, they don't
Definitely.
have that. They
They
don't
don't
really
have
have that.
that
They
at
only have
all.
Russ.
Not
Exactly.
even. Not even a glimpse. You know, there's no glimmer of hope for them at all. No one's hurt. Everyone's healthy. There's just
Nope.
nobody that has the ability to create offense at will. You know, they
Exactly.
can't even get 15 on by themselves, and
Exactly.
that's kind of scary to think about.
You got Jerry Grant in the second in the I mean Jeremy Grant in the second unit trying to create buckets for your team.
Yeah,
Like, that's not gonna work.
and you know they're really hyping him up during the playoffs. I'm like, this guy, no offense, but he's just not
Exactly.
he's not the guy that's gonna put the Rockets away. Come on, let's be real.
Exactly. And James Harden, I'm not gonna lie, he had a terrible series and they still pulled it out in
Yeah,
5 games.
and
So
five
it comes to
games,
show how good Houston is compared to OKC.
definitely honest. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So wow. With that being said, are we're gonna leave out the MVP race because we want that to be a debate for another day. But we'll talk about rookie of the year and defensive player of the year
Okay?
and a lot of those guys. But you know my first pick for defensive player of the year has to be Draymond Green, coming in at two steals per game,
I definitely agree.
and his versatility on the defensive end is unlike anybody in the league besides LeBron, truthfully. But even then, LeBron's not guarding every guard. He's not going to guard guards.
Hmm.
That's
I
just
mean,
the nature of who he is
exactly.
because he just there's always someone else on the other
And I mean,
team
we
that's
talked we
bigger,
talked
that's
about this right
more
in the
physically
in the
imposing.
Portland series when Draymond like he would switch out on like four different positions in one defensive
One,
possession.
yeah, and he
Like it
closes
was
out
great.
on the ball from wherever he is with his long arms, man.
Exactly.
He blocks he blocks so many shots from the perimeter. It's actually ridiculous. Guys don't even
Blocks,
look at that.
steals, anything. You know what I'm
Like
saying?
if you watch
Exactly.
his tape this year, his there's no there's no way that he's not the reason they have the number one defense in the league, you know. And
Exactly.
he made Kevin Durant a better defensive player.
He
And I
did.
heard that from Steve Kerr, you know, and I watched that. I watched him, you know, get into his jersey a little bit, you know, competitively, telling him what he did wrong, but at
Hmm.
the same time, still remaining a team. And what people don't understand is you have guys like this who excel strictly because they know how to play the game.
And they're
And
passionate about what they do.
they're passionate and they have the athletic ability to match it. And Draymond Green has all of that. In the intangibles, you know, he gets in guys' jersey. He really gets them rattled. People don't like
Hmm.
that about him, but every player has a every team has a player like that. And every team wants a player like that. Let's be real. I mean, there's somebody on that team that's a little bit chippier than the rest.
Exactly.
And you need that. You can't have a playoff team and not have somebody that's willing to battle.
Exactly.
That's just the nature of sports. There's never a team where there's not a guy on that team, you know, that's just ready for warfare at all costs.
Exactly.
This is a game, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to win, and I'll
Hey,
do
you
whatever
know,
it
like
takes.
I don't know if you know him, but I think like one of the players that Draymond Green reminds me of back in the day, Anthony Mason from the New York Knicks,
Okay.
the lefty, bro. I'm telling you, he just his grittiness. You know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like Draymond would be perfect on Patrick Ewing's 1994-95 team. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
he would be perfect for them, man.
Oh yeah. 1997, all defensive man, six man of the
Heck
year.
yeah,
Yeah.
heck
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, that guy. Okay. Yeah. You know, that's a great comparison.
And let me let
And
me let me tell you something too.
looking at his
So
points, oh my, I'm gonna just pause you real fast.
yeah,
He averaged 10 points, 8
yeah,
rebounds, 3 assists.
mhm.
Come on, 50% from the field.
And yeah,
Ah,
dude, let's put an emphasis on the 10 points a game.
yeah.
All right, so
Oh
let me go down
yeah,
the
10
line. Let
points a
me go down
game.
the line. All right, so the basically the candidates are Draymond, who we all think is gonna win. You got Kawhi, and you have Gobert. All right, so Kawhi, we all know Kawhi is basically the alpha male of the alpha dog of the Spurs. He's the go-to guy on the offensive end. The man averages 25.5 points a game. So you obviously know that since he's a focal point on the offensive end, he's more likely going to exert more energy on the offensive end rather than the defensive end.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we have Gobert, who's on a pretty well-rounded team. He has a balanced role. He can go down on the defensive end, be a great rim protector. He's one of the best rim protectors in the league
Hmm.
today. And then he can go on the other end, on the offensive end, and get he can. I think he has a pretty decent post game. Man averages 14 a game.
Right, right.
So
Okay, yeah, yeah,
and
definitely.
then you have Draymond. So like you said, you got the 10 points a game. 10 points.
10 points.
So that's
And you know,
that's nothing.
people are like, oh, 10 points, that sucks. I'm like, we're in the NBA right now, where guys are
But
real,
it's
like,
it's
there's no defense.
right. No, I mean, but I'm that's even disregarding that fact. But like that is a really good point. And the fact that he only averages 10 points a game just says that where Draymond Green is, he's surrounded by some of the greatest shooters that we've ever seen in the league.
Yes, sir.
KD, Klay Thompson,
And his 10 points
Stephen
can turn
Curry.
into 15 and really break the.
But yeah, but that being said, he doesn't have to worry about offense. His role on the team is to be the defensive anchor on the team.
Hmm.
He has such good offensive players that he doesn't have to be a factor on that end of the floor. We obviously know he can be, like you
Right,
said, that can
right.
turn
Last year he averaged 14, but now
that.
and that's okay. Him averaging 10, you can see where his numbers improve
Mm-hmm,
because he averaged 14, 9 rebounds, and 1.5 steals and 7.4 assists. But then you can see kind of where it evened out once KD got there. Not evened out, but you can see where the his stat line started to, what can I say? I believe it started to make more sense because he averaged 7.9 total rebounds a game, as where he had two more than that, so he had 9 last year. Even though you could say that's better, that is a lot better, but 7.9 total rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, which is point 0.5 up from last year, 1.4 blocks, and he's turning the ball over less than he was last year. Hey
yeah, but
man,
but Jordan, like, he doesn't have to have the ball at all at this point. Like,
he doesn't.
he's the,
He
the team
doesn't.
is so good offensively, even without him on the floor.
Oh
All
yeah,
they need him to do, all he has to do now,
just
because he
rotate.
has such great shooters around him, is to focus on the defensive end, and then that's exactly what they do. What happens is that with the Warriors, Draymond will make a great block, and it'll lead to a fast break 3 pointer or an easy bucket on the other end. Is because Draymond is such a good defensive anchor. His role, his vocal, him being vocal on that end, and directing traffic on the defensive end, because that's what he does. On offense, he roams. He just waits and sees what Steph Curry or KD or the crowds that are drawn by Klay Thompson when his shots on. He's really
Yes,
just rolling our
yeah.
offense. So
He's
he just
always
gets open shots here and there, but his main role on the team is defense, and that's why out of all three, the point is out of all three of these candidates, Kawhi averaging 25.5 a game, Gobert averaging only 14. I mean, averaging 14 a game, and Draymond only averaging 10 a game, just proves that
sold
he
in on
doesn't worry about
defense.
offense.
He's
He worries
completely
about
locked in on
defense,
the
and that's
defensive end.
exactly what the Warriors need. That's exactly what they need.
Wow, yeah. You really just laid it all out there.
That's exactly what they need, man.
Wow,
So,
that's wild. I'm looking at the way he's played in the playoffs. Especially the 4 games.
mhm.
He averaged 14 with KD out, so he averages regular amount. But man, was that guy averaging 4 blocks a game.
Exactly. Amazing, bro. He can literally do it all on the defense. He's the LeBron James of defense.
Yeah, honestly, honestly, if you really think
Yo,
about
he's
it,
really good.
he knows where to be at all times. He knows who should be where. He's always talking. He can guard every position. I mean, what else? Really, what else can you say?
Exactly.
Jeez.
And
Wow.
he's durable. He's
And
durable,
he's
man.
very durable. The guy looking at everything, he's only the most games he's ever missed in a season is 4, and that was this year.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
So we all agree Draymond
Draymond's
is the
got to get
defensive player of the
defensive
year.
player of the year,
Hands down.
hands down. There's no argument. Honest, I don't have an argument against it.
Exactly. So what's up? What's next? What's the next award?
We'll go with rookie of the year,
Alright.
and I had the pleasure to go to a Cavs game and watch Malcolm Brogdon do his thing. So, that's going to be my pick overall.
I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna agree with you. I agree with you with that pick as well. Go ahead, go ahead. What you see, man, at that Cavs game?
Well, I saw a 4-year starter from Virginia that
Mm-hmm.
really knew how to play, just how to play the game. He knew where to be, and he has a polished game on both ends of the floor. He can
For
get
sure.
down and he can play. You can honestly put him on your number one, as if we were speaking football terms. And your cornerback, you're putting him on your number one wide receiver. You would want him in 2 or 3 years to guard your number one, that
Like
point guard.
right, the other guard
He's
because
yeah,
he can do that. He's a
he's
two-way point
yeah,
guard,
exactly.
play offense and play defense. And
What
shoot,
makes
he
him even more lethal? Sorry to cut you
go
off,
ahead, go
but
ahead.
him being off ball is something else that a lot of players right now in the NBA don't have. They don't have knowledge of how to run around and catch the ball
Exactly.
off
Open
screens.
spots.
Yeah, and he knows all of that. He's completely in tune with how the team works, and the fact that he was pretty much the focal point of his offense last season at Virginia
Hmm.
in the last 4, you could say. He actually knows how to run an offense, and that's scary because Giannis knows how to run the offense.
Right,
Same as Delhi, and Jabari Parker is a guy that can also handle the ball.
right.
So I just think that his impact, even though it didn't really start to click for people until like after the All Star break, how good he was.
Hmm.
I knew he was good before the All Star break.
Right.
I just thought that he had the right he got the right amount of minutes and he made the most of the minutes that he played.
Exactly.
And
And
that's another guy
I
that
was
averages
watching.
triple
I was
doubles.
watching this show. I was watching this show. My fault, man. I was watching a show, and I think it was the Colin Cowherd show, of course. Like I always tell you. And the he would. They were talking about how they were doing the evaluations, at the NBA, training camp and things like that, and where the rookies get interviewed and things like that, and get evaluated on the floor against the other rookies, of course. And they were saying, like, sources were saying that Brogdon was not only impressive on the court, but he was impressive in his interviews. Like, do you understand? Like, the man, they call this man the president on the Milwaukee Bucks. That's his nickname.
Yeah,
Because
man.
how he carries himself,
It says
he carries himself in such a professional manner. He's so mature, and he knows just the right things to say. It is crazy how mature he is at the age he is, and he's pretty blessed to be
yeah,
in a position that he's in. Being
yeah.
on a playoff team and being a contributor. You know what
hmm
I'm saying? So
They call him Humble Moses as well.
humble Moses. I love it. I love it,
Because
man.
that's his middle name. Ain't that crazy? Just
Oh, I did not know his middle name was Moses.
yeah,
Learn something new every day.
yeah. So
Like,
the man is definitely going to be around for about 15 plus if he can
if
stay
he, yeah,
healthy. I mean, he's 24, but just
exactly,
guys, the way they play determines how. Look at Jameer Nelson.
for sure,
I mean, the guy he as a rookie averaged 10 and 4,
for sure. And let me
and
tell
he
you.
only
Oh,
started
go ahead, go ahead.
28 games, bro. He only started 28 games.
That's
Just
and actually that was toward the end of the season. He took Matthew Dellavedova's
yeah,
starting position,
I
so that
know
comes to show like Matthew Dellavedova's been in the league. He's an NBA champion, and he's getting his spot taken
by a
by
rookie.
a rookie. Exactly. And let me spit something at you. So Malcolm Brogdon played 75 games. All right. Obviously, he averaged 10 points, 4 assists, 10 points a game, 4 assists a game, and then shot 45.7% from the field goal. Then he shot 40.4% from 3 point range. And he also had a player efficiency rating of 14.9, which rates number 5 out of all active rookies. So then, if I go down the line, the other two, potential rookie of the year candidates is Joel Embiid and then Dario Saric. Dario Saric played 81 games, averaged, but here's the thing: after the All Star break, he averaged 17 a game with 7 boards, which is impressive. He
Okay.
basically picked up the slack for Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
Obviously, get the gist. But then we look at Joel Embiid. This is my main argument. This is why he's not going to win in my eyes. The man only played 31 games.
hmm
Yes, he
Right.
did average 20 a game with 7.8 rebounds a game. You can round that to 8. Then he had 2.5 blocks a game while shooting 46.6% from field goal and 36.7 from 3 point range, and had the highest PER, player efficiency rating, out of all rookies. But obviously, his stats are going to be like that if you only play 31 out of 82 games.
Yeah.
It's just nature of the beast.
hmm
I
He
keep
went
on
off.
like I keep telling you, his
so
body, physically, his body is made for college. Skill wise, he's in the NBA. He's NBA ready. Skill wise, he's NBA ready. But I mean, 31 games. I mean, that's pretty pathetic. I
yeah,
mean, you gotta,
that's very true. I
you know what I'm saying?
never, I was a guy that was thinking, yo, man, Joel Embiid definitely got to get the rookie of the year. I don't even care if he plays half the year, but no, you can't get 75 games
Yes,
and the impact that Malcolm Brogdon had on a playoff team,
on the playoff team,
on a
exactly.
young playoff
Oh,
team.
for sure.
You can't overlook that. And Joel Embiid. Hopefully, I hope the man is. I mean, he's 22, so I hope that
Yeah,
in 4 years he's played 75 games.
but
Instead
yeah,
of
I
just
mean,
40.
Jay, you gotta be honest with me. Like, does that Greg Oden, repeat like what could have been? Does that like pop into your head sometimes when you look
Yes
at Joel Embiid?
and no.
Obviously, skill wise, he's better than Greg Oden. We
Yeah,
all know this.
yeah.
No one's saying that Joel Embiid is a
Is
terrible
yeah,
player,
right.
but it's more of just durability.
You know,
Obviously, yeah.
I really don't know, and that's a crazy to say. Like I just don't know something. Obviously, nobody knows
Mm,
everything, but I don't want to say yes or no because one, I don't want to jinx the guy, and two,
Exactly.
he's a 7 footer, and what his injuries have been foot problems. I'm actually just to be 100% sure. He his foot. That's that foot on a 7 footer, man.
I mean, yeah, the same things would happen in the Kevin Durant. So
Yeah, big
yeah,
guys like that.
and his knee. Now they say his knee as well. He has left knee issues. That's I mean, foot and knee foot and knee issues. I mean, that's kind of a red flag. But I
It's
mean,
a
with the
huge red
skill
flag for
with the
his.
skill at his height as a center, what he can do: go inside, torch you inside, go outside, shoot the three. Has a pretty reliable mid range shot as well.
Right. Ha.
But the injuries, man. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's the
And
knee.
and
I
you
mean,
can't.
he said he was out this season with a torn meniscus
Yeah.
in his left knee. So I mean, that's
You really can't bag on that. You can't
repeatable.
bag
You
on
know,
him
like
being somebody that's gonna carry your team in 2 or 3 years.
I mean, that's tough, man. That's tough. But yeah, Malcolm Brogdon, you got me, bro, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well then, looks like we'll kind of wrap it up with Paul George's future and what will he do this off season after losing a game to LeBron
Wait, you
James?
want to talk about MVP or not?
We're gonna leave that. We're
Okay,
gonna
yeah,
leave
leave it.
that
All right,
just because there's a lot more in the
let's
coming
do that
days that I feel like we can take from what we saw.
for sure, for sure. All right, so playoffs. We all know during the playoffs, Paul George had plenty of moments where he could have shown LeBron up, shown the Cavs up, and he let us down. Obviously, a lot of hero ball that didn't lead to wins. Um, Paul George basically throughout the playoffs just showed us, and I think you can agree with me, Jay, is he has a lot of growing up to do.
Yeah,
He definitely has a
definitely.
lot of growing up to do.
And to say that him as a player,
Mm-hmm.
he definitely needs to grow as a teammate
Yep,
because
for sure.
I was the first person to say CJ Miles, you can't take that shot. You have to give that shot to Paul George. You know,
I
but
mean, but if you
that
look
was a
back at
good shot.
that
That
clip, if
was a
you look
good
back at that
shot.
clip,
Yeah.
Paul George passed it to C.J. Miles at the last minute,
Oh
at the
yeah.
last second.
But he was expecting to get the ball back, regardless of LeBron being on
It's
him.
sure. I mean, but
But
think
that
about it.
that
Like
shot that he took
we all know, you get the ball back with 2 seconds left. The man's like
in
10
your
feet behind the
jersey,
free
bro,
throw line.
right? And you're in the yeah, bro. You're in LeBron's
There's
in the
no way you can
jersey.
take a shot
I ain't passing that to you. That's just how it goes. You
for
can't.
sure.
That's just a smart. That's a dumb basketball play. And he chose a smart basketball play over satisfying the star player.
And let me tell you this though. You say that Paul George should have had that shot in the end, and especially in game one. Obviously, throughout all the games were close.
Yeah,
Um,
right. It
but
was.
what if I told you that Paul George is 0 of 20 on go ahead or game winning buckets with 20 seconds or less on the game clock? He's 0 of 20. So since 2010, since his first go ahead game winning bucket in 2010, Paul George is 0 of 20 on go ahead game winning buckets with 20 seconds or left on the game clock. That's the growing up portion that we have to take into consideration.
Right.
We all know how great a scorer Paul George is, how great a well-rounded player Paul George is. But what if I also told you that in this series, Paul George only shot 38.6% from the field goal range, and then on top of that, Paul George is plus minus. So basically, when Paul George is in the game, the team, what kind of point production or point deficit the team is undergoing and things like that. When Paul George is on the floor, his plus minus is minus 6.3. So that means that when he's in the game, the team is usually down 6 points. So it kind of the hero ball that also comes into play, and that just explains Paul George's plus minus and his terrible field goal percentage in this series that we just watched in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs this year.
Yeah, that you couldn't be more right because a lot of the times you watch Jeff Teague or Monte Ellis come up
Mm-hmm.
and either they ISO'd or they passed the ball to him with 5 seconds left in the shot clock.
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean he didn't make it easier on himself or on his teammates by just being just at the end of with 10 seconds left, just going to the ball and then making because he's not that fast with the ball. So he's usually shooting contested jumpers, contested pull up jumpers. He can be shifty at times, but for the most part Paul George is more of, keep it simple. He's long, so he's obviously gonna, you know, go do what he has to do to get a shot off. And he's gonna
Right.
shoot over top of the defender.
Yep.
So he's usually shooting contested jump shots. Is
All the time.
what the basic what I'm basically trying to say. So with that being said, he just didn't make anything easier for the Pacer offense in general, which isn't we all know isn't as good as the Cleveland Cavaliers, but just no cuts, no anything. It's just more of like we said about Russell Westbrook and OKC. It was almost the same thing with Paul George and the Indiana Pacers.
Yes,
You know what I'm
sir.
saying? Like the offense is basically just ran through him, and when he's gone, like what else are we going to do? Like where are we going to go? And with Paul George, not being as clutch as he should be because he's such a good shooter, it doesn't help that either. You know what I'm saying? Like he has to be able to come through in the clutch, and he has to be able to make the plays that they need to win the game.
Yeah, simple as that. He has to be able to rely on himself to make a smart basketball play.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to be able to know that his teammates are right behind him because they have a decent squad, and they were
For
right
sure.
there with the Cavs. I don't believe
They,
that
I
they
mean,
were out.
I want to say, they're decent. They're championship contending. That can be argued, but I'm pretty sure anybody's gonna say like, yeah, they're decent, but they're not gonna get to the conference finals
Definitely
or
not,
anything like that.
especially with LeBron in the same conference.
Exactly.
It's just too
Exactly.
it's unheard of. Honestly, you couldn't even fathom the thought that they would get there with that team that they have.
Mm-hmm. And so, for sure, man, I'm telling you. Um. Oh, so is there anything else you wanna add before we go on to hypotheticals of what Paul George may do as a free agent?
No, there's nothing else I've got. I believe that we've pretty much covered his lack thereof
Right. Yeah.
talent in terms of being a guy to look to. So yeah, you can definitely go ahead.
Okay. So if I told you, okay, so Paul George we know is not happy. Like you said, he has to become a better teammate for especially from what we've heard, telling CJ Miles he has to pass him the ball, pointing fingers like he has to have the ball at the end of the game and things like that. We obviously know he's not happy. And Jay, what if I told you that Paul George has been in the league for 7 seasons? He spent all 7 seasons with the Pacers,
Right.
and the man has 4 ejections with in 7 seasons. What if I told you that all 4 of those ejections were this season? They happened this season, in the 2016-2017 regular season, Paul George has had all four of his ejections this season. Do you think that's a sign that he wants to leave Indy, that he's pretty fed up with, the atmosphere and things like that?
You know, yeah, that's definitely a foreshadowing. Just frustration with Larry Bird in terms of
Mm-hmm.
how he's kind of put together the team in recent years, and just overall the natural desire to want to win and
Mm-hmm.
get past where they've been these last few years. So I feel like he's definitely reached a boiling point, knowing that he's gonna be, you know,
Exactly.
he's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be the man somewhere wherever he goes, or he's just gonna get paid. But at the end of the day, he wants to win, and
Exactly.
that's
I
the
agree.
hardest thing to take away from a guy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so let's just say if he did want to re-sign with Indiana, there's this thing called the designated player exception, which is basically where Indiana's going to offer Paul George a contract extension with basically a bonus attached to it if and only if he makes one of three All NBA teams.
Right.
So I was telling you about this the other day. If he were to re-sign with Indiana and then make one of three All NBA teams, he could potentially get about $212.3 million over 6 seasons. Now, if he say he doesn't uh, do that and doesn't get on the one of three All NBA teams when he resigns, he can demand a trade. And if he demands a trade and goes to another team, he'll only get about $123 million over 4 seasons, which he's basically losing out over about calculating it about $70 million worth of money. So that in itself, it depends, like you said. If he wants the money, he's gonna go re-sign with Indiana, and he's most likely gonna go on and make an All NBA team and get that money, just because that's how good he is. And then, but if he wants to win, then he's basically losing out on money, and he just wants to win. Let's leave it. Let's just be real. So, what teams do you think are gonna that Paul George, if he doesn't resign with Indiana and wants and demands a trade, what other teams you think that Paul George would be a good fit in, Jay?
You know, and I'm stealing this from you.
I know you good, bro. Let's
But
go.
the Clippers. Once you said that, Blake Griffin
Sure.
probably will not be on that team after this summer. And if he is, that comes to that's just a big surprise for me.
hmm
Yeah, I believe that he'll go. If he was smart and he really was trying to win, he would go to the Clippers. But I believe he's just gonna probably end up going to the Lakers because I think they're gonna want to try to put him on that team, and I think they're gonna want to pay him. Magic Johnson is probably gonna want to try to pay him a lot of money to get him out there.
I mean, here's the thing though. All right. So
But
yeah. So you
I'm
say
gonna
the
stop.
Clippers.
At the same time, I don't know why he would do that because
Yeah.
he's going back.
Yeah.
He's just that would
Lakers
just be
just
a
have no. They have like okay. So if I go down the line, so you say Clippers first. So hypothetically, what the Clippers could do is, I was reading this. They could sign Blake Griffin. They can agree to a sign and trade. So what will happen is the Clippers will re-sign Blake Griffin, and then trade him for Paul George, and then in return, Larry Bird and the Indiana Pacers are going to get Blake Griffin. But what are the odds of Blake Griffin wanting to go to Indiana if he already re-signs with LA? He's probably going to want to stay in LA and not go to Indiana. So that can potentially be a possibility just to keep Larry Bird happy and get him a star in return instead of Paul George just leaving and them just being, you know, you know, just out there on the limb. no one, and they're just basically rebuilding again.
Right.
So that could possibly be a possibility. But yes, I do believe that if Paul George was to win right now, him teaming up with Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan is a good fit for him. Now, as far as the Lakers, here's the thing with the Lakers. The thing with the Lakers is they do have a lot of young stars that if they pick up Paul George, they have a lot of young stars that they can just get rid of for money or just trade, you know, for either money purposes or to get a better, complementary piece to surround Paul George around. But also, you gotta think this way. With the way that the Los Angeles Lakers are going about this right now, I think they may also just be building towards the future without Paul George, if you think about it, because
Yeah,
all
honestly.
the young players that they have, D'Angelo Russell, Julius Randle had a phenomenal season. They
You're
had Lou
absolutely
Williams,
right.
but obviously they traded him. You got Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr. And then they also are going to get the lottery pick, so they're also going to end up with potentially Alonzo Ball or a Markel
Markel
Fultz.
Fultz, man, yeah, or
So
De'Aaron, or
you know what
Malik
I'm saying?
Monk, any
So
of those guys. Wow, you're
yeah,
right. That's completely right. There's no reason for the Lakers to even put interest in him. If
exactly,
there's just no reason for them to even try to, it would be a dumb move for Magic Johnson and them to try to turn around everything that they've gotten in terms of the picks that they have right now
exactly.
to
So
just win, win, win. Not in the West. It's just they need to wait for the Warriors to end their run, their reign. It's not worth trying to compromise your team to win now.
yeah, so for sure, you gotta take into effect the the idea that the Lakers are just building, simply just building towards the future, and they're not really looking to win right now. So in terms of logic, and from Paul George's perspective, he's probably not going to go to the Lakers, but I do like the LA Clippers idea. Um, what else? So I actually got another one for you. How do you feel about the Celtics? But maybe they have a shot at getting Paul George as well. What do you think about that, Jay?
I like that. They need a scorer on that team,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, they do.
and they just need someone. They just need someone that can shoot the ball, plain and simple. That's not Horford, and that's not Isaiah Thomas because they can't beat the Cavs without. They can barely beat the Bulls without. Their shooting is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
it's just not
And,
good enough.
and I was listening to the Colin Cowherd show, and Nick Wright had made this phenomenal. He had made this phenomenal point. He was like, in this day and time in the league, you can't have your go-to player be a 5'9" point guard. There's no way. The only point guard that was 6 feet or under that led a team to a championship was Isaiah Thomas. But in this day and time, in this NBA today, players are just bigger, stronger, and faster. And we all know what Isaiah Thomas is capable of course. But at the same time, if you match up, if say Cleveland, hypothetically, Cleveland and Boston matches up in the playoffs eventually, if that happens and they put